Du Chen has become Huo Yuhao's system, and it seems that he also needs to work as a part-time grandfather. Since that's the case, then. He Yuhao, you don't want to resurrect your mother just because you don't have enough strength, do you? Then you have to be obedient and obedient Tang men. Don't go, with your brother Chen here, what sect do you want to join? Ice and fire 2 eyes. Take away these good things, even if they are not needed, they cannot be left to others. Qinkuan Wenqing Valley. Destroy it, don't you think you can withstand the test of this ruined place? Is drawing a card from a non-chieftain. Calm down and listen to my brother's words. Luck is like a rolling stone on a high mountain. Once it starts, it will only get worse and worse. The Divine King. Knock him. Don't hesitate, believe me, it's him who knocked. Keywords of the novel. Douluo. Sending Huo Yuhao a pair of reincarnation eyes without pop-ups, Douluo. Sending Huo Yuhao a pair of reincarnation eyes. Download the complete text. Douluo. Sending Huo Yuhao a pair of reincarnation eyes. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. I am a system. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. I am a system. Douluo Star Luo Empire, within the White Tiger Duke's mansion. The 10-year-old boy looked at the grave in front of him, with a deep hatred in his eyes. One day, I will avenge you. Huo Yuhao made a vow in his heart. Standing beside him was a phantom figure, looking up at the sky with a somewhat anxious expression. Ah, if we don't hurry up, this soul may be taken away by the Divine King, but how can I speak in this situation? They are feeling pain. Is it difficult to say directly to him that I can prevent his mother's soul from dissipating as long as I sign a contract with him? No, it's too abrupt. Then cut through the chaos with a quick knife, sign a contract without his consent, and use protecting the soul as a newbie reward when the time comes. No, it's too impolite. What to do? While he was still struggling, Huo Yuhao suddenly stood up and gently caressed Huo Yun'er's tombstone with his palm. He asked in a faint voice, "Can you protect my mother's soul?" Du Chen's face stiffened as he turned awkwardly to look at Huo Yuhao. "You. Can you hear me?" "Well, you've been muttering a lot just now, and I've heard it all." Huo Yuhao nodded in response to Du Chen and asked again, "Can you protect my mother's soul?" "Of course, as long as you." "I promise you." Before Du Chen could finish speaking, Huo Yuhao agreed. "Do you want to sign the contract?" "I promised." "What do you need me to do?" "No, you don't need to do anything, I'll do it myself." Du Chen waved his hand repeatedly and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He admitted that he was indeed slightly shocked by Huo Yuhao just now, and his gesture of caressing the tombstone was really strange. Huo Yuhao agreed, and Du Chen no longer hesitated. He transformed into a ball of light and rushed into Huo Yuhao's spiritual cover. In a flash of thought, he established a series of mystical connections with Huo Yuhao. "My name is Du Chen, you can also call me Du Gu or Chen Gu." Du Chen and Huo Yuhao greeted each other, and from now on, Huo Yuhao will be his closest and most intimate host. "Here is a beginner's gift package, would you like to open it?" At this point, Du Chen had already entered his own system space, a place with countless connections in Huo Yuhao, but it seemed that there were not many connections. Just as he was making plans for Huo Yuhao's future, he heard his voice say, "Can you save my mother first?" "Oh, right, wait for me." Du Chen instantly recalled what he had promised. He had just signed the contract and felt a bit proud, so he needed to reflect on it carefully. In the future, one cannot do things that make the other person feel cold again, otherwise what is the difference between oneself and the God King? However, let me emphasize here that I just want to keep your mother's soul from dissipating. Saving your mother still depends on you. But don't worry, I will also be responsible for helping you become stronger. I have confidence in this. Du Chen corrected Huo Yuhao by giving him a preventive shot to prevent inevitable disappointment in the future. Then, it's time for him to compete with the Divine King. After completing this vote, Huo Yuhao will completely become his person. Tongling, King of Hell. Du Chen tapped his left middle finger and thumb with a silent snap. The external energy suddenly surged and gathered in front of Huo Yuhao, transforming into a huge head. A pair of thick and long eyebrows on the head stretched wildly, and a pair of purple eyes below stared at the tomb pile. The mouth of the King of Yen is covered by a white cloth, perhaps because he is afraid of scaring others, the King of Hell. Huo Yuhao swallowed a mouthful of saliva upon hearing this. The appearance of this thing was somewhat terrifying, but it really matched the name of the King of Hell. The white cloth in front of the mouth of the King of Yen opened, revealing his big mouth with sharp teeth inside. A purple tongue with a palm at the top protruded from its mouth and lightly licked the mound. The originally stacked mound disappeared instantly, revealing a pale, bloodless female body. Huo Yuhao's heart tightened, his breathing became rapid, his hands suddenly clenched, and the hatred in his eyes grew stronger. All of this is the fault of this duchy. Huo Yuhao remained silent and watched as the purple tongue of the King of Hell grabbed Huo Yun'er's body, swallowed it, and then watched the King of Hell disappear into place. Alright, Du Chen's voice reappeared in his mind, she needs to stay inside and nourish her soul until you resurrect your mother. What you need to do now is listen to me and become stronger quickly, so that you can resurrect your mother earlier, understand? Du Chen's tone was as gentle as possible, you should quickly accept the big gift package now, there is a surprise inside. Huo Yuhao's eyes gradually calmed down, he took a deep breath, nodded suddenly, and made a decision, Good boy. Du Chen let out a sigh of admiration, regardless of whether Huo Yuhao could understand. The Du Chen version has a prompt sound. Your gift package has been received. Obtain the martial soul. Reincarnation I. Obtain innate full soul power talent. Obtain the elixir 10 complete big tonifying pills. Do you want to use all of them? Huo Yuhao stared blankly at the sudden appearance of the 3-line characters in front of him, to be precise, the second-line characters. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva and asked, can this make me become innate full of soul power? Of course, my dear boy, accept them and you will undergo tremendous changes. The smile on Du Chen's face couldn't be suppressed. He couldn't wait to see what Huo Yuhao would look like in the future. So, what about this martial soul? Huo Yuhao hesitated for a moment before asking, what will happen to my spiritual eyes and martial soul? Will evolve into these new eyes. With these eyes, your road will be smoother. Come on, child, accept it. Huo Yuhao reached out and touched his own eyes. His spiritual eyes and martial soul were his thoughts on his mother. But if accepting these eyes can resurrect my mother faster, then it doesn't matter, I accept it. Huo Yuhao's gaze became firm, perhaps his future would really be open and straightforward. At first, I felt a warm sensation rising from my body, and then a cool sensation came from my eyes. In the evolution of Lingmo, the countdown is 1 hour. Innate full soul power talent, receiving, countdown, 1 hour. Is this the feeling of physical reinforcement? Huo Yuhao felt a bit intoxicated. Let me explain to you the purpose of the system during this time. Firstly, I will assign tasks for you and then give you corresponding points and experience points. Focus on integral points, this is a good thing. I will explain in detail when the card drawing function is turned on later. Huo Yuhao immediately nodded, looking like a well-behaved baby, and responded, understood. What about experience points? That is the scale of your soul power level improvement. When your experience value reaches a certain level, you will automatically increase your soul power level until you reach a large level peak, just like you are now a peak soul warrior. At this point, you need to complete the breakthrough task. If you haven't completed the breakthrough task, even if your experience points overflow, you won't be able to successfully break through, commonly known as the card level. In addition, it is emphasized that cultivating and absorbing soul bones and soul rings do not add any experience points. Finally, for my convenience, I won't show you the experience value section. You just need to know the integration. That's all I need to say now. I'll make some additions in the future. Now fill this hole first, and then pack up what you can bring. Let's leave the Duke's mansion first. Yes. In no time, Huo Yuhao filled the hole and walked out of the Duke's mansion with his luggage. I said, Yuhao, can you just bring this little thing with you? 2 pieces of clothing, a little dry food, and a sharp dagger. This is all the luggage that Huo Yuhao is carrying at this time. Huo Yuhao awkwardly scratched his face and replied, Brother Chen, except for furniture like beds that can't be taken away, this is all I have. Du Chen opened his mouth slightly and finally turned into a sigh. Poor child. No matter what, we can't even afford to spend a little money at home. He really had a miserable time at the White Tiger Duke's mansion. It's okay, I'll give you another storage soul guide and move the furniture together. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Nothing except grilled fish. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Nothing except grilled fish. Chen, where are we going? Star Forest. Huo Yuhao, who packed his own furniture into storage rings, sat by a small river, holding grilled fish in his hand and communicating with Du Chen. What are you going to the Star Forest for? To feed those soul beasts. Du Chen sarcastically sneered, the top priority now is to find a job, preferably one that includes food and shelter. Your future path still requires a lot of money, so it's best for you to start saving now. Huo Yuhao's face, which was still somewhat excited just now, suddenly drooped and he agreed with a lack of interest. I thought that when I reached level 10, I would immediately go hunting soul beasts to obtain my first soul ring, but to my surprise, I had to look for a job first. I'm a bit disappointed. Huo Yuhao sighed and took a few bites of grilled fish, boosting his spirits and walking towards the nearest town. Hello, are there any job openings here? Huo Yuhao walked into a restaurant and asked a beautiful receptionist in front of the platform. Before coming, Huo Yuhao thought it over and realized that he only had the outstanding ability of grilled fish left. First served as a waiter, then Xiaolu was discovered by the manager, and then promoted to a higher salary in head chef. Perfect. But, sorry, little brother, we don't need to recruit people here yet, the beautiful lady said with an apologetic smile. Ah, Huo Yuhao's still cheerful face drooped down again just now, bowing slightly and apologizing, sorry to bother you. After leaving the door, Huo Yuhao bowed and apologized again before turning around and leaving. After several encounters with the Duke's mansion, I wanted to give up. Chenggu, can beggars be considered professions? After being rejected again, Huo Yuhao asked Du Chen in disappointment, why are they unwilling to hire me? Is it because of age? Huo Yuhao muttered to himself, as a 10-year-old child, his heart was slightly hurt at this moment. Du Chen remained silent for a moment and said, if you really can't find a job, why don't you set up a stall? If you're lucky, you might be recruited by some hotel manager. Ah, Huo Yuhao sighed again, feeling that with Du Chen's help, his future path would be smooth. Now it seems that my future is not particularly smooth either. At least it's difficult to take one's first step over at night. The entire city was brightly lit, and many vendors had already gathered on the open roadside during the day. This includes our Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao is a newcomer to society, young and inexperienced in setting up stalls. So far, Huo Yuhao's grilled fish stall has not attracted a single customer. This also makes Du Chen very anxious. There's really no way to give away the points. Chenggu, no one is coming. Huo Yuhao sighed countless times. He thought his stall would be a great success, but ended up giving himself a hard blow. Well, I know, Du Chen replied, you should be grilling fish here. Now that all the fish you had grilled before have cooled down, the aroma cannot dissipate, and it is normal not to attract customers. Huo Yuhao argued, but what if improper baking here causes a fire? I'm also acting with caution. Yes, be careful. Chen stroked his forehead and said helplessly, in order to reward you for being careful, I will give you a lucky draw voucher. You can try drawing a card first, and I will also explain the lucky draw function to you. Following Chen's guidance, Huo Yuhao first opened his own attribute panel. Name. Huo Yuhao level. Level 10, not broken through, soul skill. None special items. None points. 0 card draw voucher. 1 comment. A little useless person who knows nothing except grilled fish. The panel is simple, with a focus on simplicity. Seeing his own evaluation, Huo Yuhao couldn't help but twitch at the corner of his mouth and said somewhat wrongly, Chen Gu, at least I am also a person with innate soul power now, right? Saying that I am useless. Now is not the time to pay attention to evaluations, drawing cards is the key. Let's continue as I say. Huo Yuhao let out a sigh in his heart and continued to follow the instructions. Finally, he opened the card drawing system and saw the card drawing interface. The most eye-catching thing is the yellow soul ring in the halo in the middle of the interface, with a few words written next to it. Centennial Soul Skill, Heavenly Hand Power, Probability Up. Did you see that you will draw this soul skill in this card pool? When you draw this soul skill, the card pool will automatically update to the next card pool. By the way, let me emphasize here. Don't be fooled by the fact that this is just a century-old soul skill. It was just intentional by me to cover up others' ears and eyes. If you use this soul skill well, it will definitely be a great divine skill. Chen was afraid that Huo Yuhao would not believe him, so he deliberately used a comparative explanation method to increase his credibility, at least stronger than the blue-silver prison. Not much nonsense, just read the introduction. A line of words suddenly appeared in front of Huo Yuhao. Heavenly strength, within a specific range, can exchange positions of any object, including oneself. Huo Yuhao stared blankly at the interface in front of him, glanced at the lottery ticket in his hand, and asked with surprise, so, can I have my first soul skill right away? You're at the point. Chen exclaimed and continued, what I'm going to talk about next is the most important thing about the card drawing system. The card drawing mechanism. There are good and bad things in the card pool, with 3 stars being the worst, 4 stars being better, and 5 stars being the best. Every 10 draws will definitely produce a 4-star item, and every 90 draws will definitely produce a 5-star item. This is called guaranteed. Huo Yuhao understood a little and said, so this century-old soul skill is the 5-star item of this time. Not bad. Chen nodded, with a hint of approval in his eyes. He was truly Huo Yuhao, and his brain was always useful. Isn't that to say, if I'm not lucky, I'll have to draw 90 times to get it? Huo Yuhao's face collapsed a bit more. He thought he could get the magic skill that Chen Gu was talking about with just this lottery ticket in his hand, but to his surprise, he had to draw 90 times. When will this wait? No, Chen interrupted Huo Yuhao's words immediately, actually, if you're not lucky, even if you're in the 90th draw, you can't get it. Why? No. Before Huo Yuhao could finish asking, Chen interrupted Huo Yuhao's words in a loud voice, next is another mechanism, small guarantee and large guarantee. Simply put, you will definitely have a 5-star appearance in the 90th draw, but not necessarily this one. Once you have something else, such as blue-silver entanglement or blue-silver prison, you will definitely have this soul skill in the 160th draw. Got it. Of course, if you draw, reset the draw to 0 and start over. Looking at Huo Yuhao, who was feeling a bit depressed, Chen comforted and said, you don't have to be so depressed either. Generally, it's less than 80 draws and you won't wait until 90 draws. Even if you think about the benefits, what if you pull out the up soul skill on the first draw, right? Even if you're lucky, you can end it without waiting for the next card pool to open. Commonly known as double gold. You need to be full of hope for your luck. And I will try my best to give you points, relax. While comforting Huo Yuhao, Chen also secretly rolled his eyes and muttered to himself, I didn't ask you to draw a fragment, it's enough conscience. You're still so depressed. Yuhao, do you want to take a test water? Chen couldn't bear Huo Yuhao's continued depression and suggested with a smile. Huo Yuhao shook his head and fiddled with the grilled fish at his stall. Let's just forget it. Let's talk about it when we save up to 90 draws. Chen's mouth twitched slightly and couldn't help but exclaim, it's truly Huo Yuhao. It's not easy to have to wait for the ultimate pleasure in the end. After a long time, the small stall finally welcomed its first customer. Little brother, how do you sell this grilled fish? As soon as Huo Yuhao saw a guest, he immediately stood up and spoke awkwardly. This fish is already a bit cold. 2 copper soul coins and 1, do you think it's okay? Sure, the guest nodded and took out a silver soul coin from his pocket, handing it to Huo Yuhao. Give me 2. Huo Yuhao took the silver soul coin and neatly picked up 2 grilled fish and put them in a bag, handing them over along with the change he had previously begged for. Here, the customer, take it. Thank you for your patronage. Huo Yuhao watched the guest leave, gently caressing the silver soul coin in his hand, his eyes full of happy emotions. The first money one earns in life. Is this the feeling of being rich? Chen coughed lightly, interrupting Huo Yuhao's thoughts, and then spoke up, congratulations on earning your first silver soul coin in life. Reward 10 points and activate the achievement system. The evaluation is updated in real time, please check it yourself. Huo Yuhao originally thought that the points he gave were a bit low, but when he saw the last few words, his eyes suddenly lit up. He quickly opened his own panel and flipped to the evaluation section. A little trash who can make money by grilling fish. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. The Value of the Wind Baboon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 The Value of the Wind Baboon. Post a mission to kill the 10-year soul beast Wind Baboon. Reward, 2 lucky draw coupons. Huo Yuhao's eyes lit up as he strolled around the outskirts of the starry forest, but suddenly became alert. 2 lucky draw coupons. Are they so generous? No. If something goes wrong, there must be demons. This mission is definitely problematic. After being excited, Huo Yuhao quickly calmed down and carefully recalled his experiences over the past 2 years. Chen was really not a good person. What happened when I said I was trying my best to give myself points? It's been 2 years, and I haven't made much money myself. So, there must be something suspicious about this matter, you must be cautious. Chen guessed Huo Yuhao's thoughts and frowned. Although Chen did not have the ability to eavesdrop on Huo Yuhao's innermost thoughts, it did not prevent him from accurately guessing Huo Yuhao's malicious slander against him. His reward level is 2 draws for killing an ordinary little monster. Although it's only a limited time activity, his reward level is also high enough, right? What's not enough about this? It's really unreasonable for him to suspect the authenticity of this reward now. Do it or not, this task will automatically cancel after 10 minutes. Chen snorted coldly, and this child couldn't get used to it. Occasionally, with a generous reward, he even suspected himself. It's really annoying. Don't. I'll do it. I'll do it fast and well. Huo Yuhao changed his face instantly, completely without the skeptical look he had just shown. In 2 years, he has changed a lot, and now he understands. To be a person, one cannot be too stubborn. When it is time to change face, one must change face. It's just a change of face, without deducting my own points. Chen, where is the goal of this mission? Give me a hint. Huo Yuhao looked around and found many soul beasts, but it was still difficult to find the mission target. Find it yourself, fate will guide you. Chen waved his hand, refused to provide clues, and then clicked on his own small map. He looked at a small red dot that was still not far away with interest, his mouth slightly curled up, and muttered with hope, "Wind Baboon, hurry up and give this kid a little shock of a little god slayer." Huo Yuhao walked steadily forward, carefully paying attention to the surroundings, occasionally watching the countdown of the task. 10 minutes is not short, killing a 10-year soul beast is too abundant, but the prerequisite is to find it first. Where exactly is the wind baboon in this task? If it cannot be found, then the reward cannot be mentioned. But the face of this wind baboon is really big, it's worth 2 lucky draws. His heart was filled with curiosity. Suddenly, Huo Yuhao paused under his feet and turned his gaze to a patch of grass. His gaze gradually changed to a pair of purple eyes with several black circles. 2 soul rings, one yellow and one purple, appeared beside him, emitting a faint and bright light. 2-ring soul master. The purple reincarnation eyes stared at the nearby grass, where a soul beast was hidden, restraining its killing intent. He had a feeling that the soul beast hidden inside was the target of his mission. Is this the guide of fate? It's really amazing. Huo Yuhao raised his right hand and the second soul ring lit up. Open your right hand slightly, pull back, and a burst of suction instantly erupts. Wanxiang Tianin. The wind baboon hidden in the grass was pulled out and flew towards the soul master in front of it. The wind baboon's face showed fear, and the carefully hidden one was unexpectedly discovered. Unable to control their own movements, they can only wave their limbs randomly in an attempt to cause interference to the other party. Huo Yuhao frowned and felt even more strange as he thought about it. Why is this thing worth 2 lottery tickets? Killing soul beasts does not give points, which Chen informed him from the beginning. But what's special about this 10-year baboon? If it weren't for the sudden assignment of tasks, he might not have paid attention to this soul beast. I pondered in my heart, but I didn't hesitate about the movements in my hands. Flashing away from the waving limbs of the wind baboon, he took out the white tiger dagger and accurately and sharply threw it at the center of the wind baboon's forehead, splashing out a little of its brain. The whole action is crisp and sharp. The white soul ring slowly condensed from above the body of the wind baboon, accompanied by a systematic sound of good news. Successfully completed the task and obtained 2 lucky draw coupons. Huo Yuhao grinned at the corner of his mouth, pulled out the white tiger dagger, wiped it clean on the body of the wind baboon, and put it away. No matter how special this baboon is, as long as the reward is received, everything is easy to say. Huo Yuhao opened his own panel, name. Huo Yuhao level. Level 30, not broken through, soul skills. Heavenly hand power, Wanxiang Tianin special items. None points. 120 draw coupons. 2 comment. Blocked. Looking at the 2 newly added lottery tickets, Huo Yuhao couldn't help but smile on his face. Come on, single out miracles. Huo Yuhao shouted in his heart, opened the card drawing interface, and clicked on the single draw. Now that the bottom line is approaching, he can't wait to make 10 consecutive runs. A blue light flashed through the interface, revealing its true appearance as a chicken that had undergone bleeding hair removal. Ha! Huo Yuhao forced a smile on his face, his eyes filled with disappointment and excitement. He drew in his 70s, which was a great guarantee. Now, every blue light was a huge blow to his mentality. The next draw will definitely yield gold. Come out, my 5 stars. My heart roared, and my fingers exerted force, fiercely tapping on the single pull. Unfortunately, Chen did not follow Hao Yuan's wishes. Another blue light flashed through, like a fish. Why? Is this the ultimate guarantee? Huo Yuhao's eyes lost a hint of radiance and he said, why is it still not profitable? Chen sneered and comforted, where are you now? Don't forget that 160 draws is the bottom line, you still have 10 consecutive operations. I know, Huo Yuhao sighed, but at least this was also drawn from a lottery. Why are these ingredients so ordinary? Du Chen smiled awkwardly, but this was his pot. He couldn't think of what to arrange for Samsung to be the right thing. After thinking about it, he felt that he could only give him some ingredients, so he had to make a mistake for Huo Yuhao, but at least we can also increase the revenue, can't we? Amidst the sighs of Huo Yuhao, a sudden sound appeared in his mind. Finally, I made you wait for me, my destined person. If it weren't for me, I wouldn't have shed tears, otherwise I would have shed tears all over my face. Huo Yuhao. Strange, how can there be a familiar feeling? The last time I did this, it seems like it was Chen Gu, right? It's that guy who made himself a slave to points. Stay away from him. You can't have another Du Chen in your mind. Without any hesitation, regardless of how the heavenly dream eyes Silkworm begged, Huo Yuhao just didn't turn back and fled from the place just now. You come back quickly, brother can't do without you, just like Shrek City can't do without Shrek Academy. I can help you improve your talent and strength. Come back quickly. Upon hearing these words, Huo Yuhao walked faster and felt that damn sense of familiarity. Du Chen had said similar things before, you can't turn back, you can't turn back. Post a mission to keep the heavenly dream ice silkworm in the Sea of Spirit, with mission rewards and 2 lucky draw coupons. Huo Yuhao's footsteps suddenly stopped, and a few drops of cold sweat broke out on his head. It was broken and he was about to turn back. 2 lottery tickets, 2 more. It's hard to refuse, and it seems like there's nothing left for the 2 Du Chens in my mind. Huo Yuhao turned around and walked back amidst the cheers of the heavenly dream ice silkworm. As long as you have these 2 lottery tickets, Shenluo Tianjing will definitely come out. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Heavenly Dream Ice Silkworm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Heavenly Dream Ice Silkworm. Although you are not yet a spiritual soul master, it's okay. I believe in my intuition and I will help you from now on. In the end, you will definitely become a great spiritual soul master. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm boasted and worked hard to draw a big cake for Huo Yuhao. Oh, what should I do? Huo Yuhao looked at the huge silkworm baby in front of him and said casually. He could stand here now and listen to the silkworm baby because of those 2 lottery tickets. As for the help it said, he didn't need it at all. One morning brother is enough. The heavenly dream ice silkworm shook its huge body and said to itself, allow me to introduce myself. I am the embodiment of hero and chivalry, the king of soul beasts with both wisdom and beauty, an unparalleled powerhouse who has practiced for millions of years and created the record for the highest lifespan in the Douluo continent. You can call me Heavenly Dream Brother. Huo Yuhao. Oh, that damn familiarity is here again. No, at least Chen Gu is not so arrogant. He is even worse than Chen Gu. However, it just said it was a million-year soul beast. Huo Yuhao looked at Tianmeng Ice Silkworm suspiciously and asked, are you really a million-year soul beast? Of course, Heavenly Dream Ice Silkworm raised its head even higher, brother is just a million-year-old soul beast. Have you been shocked? Huo Yuhao frowned tightly, wondering in his heart. How can this million-year soul beast be priced on par with that 10-year soul beast? Is that soul beast special, or is this soul beast useless? Or is this soul beast really useless? I guess I was shocked. Shocked, you're the first human to see my true form. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm raised her head higher and higher, her tone full of pride. Huo Yuhao had a strange expression on his face, interrupting his current thoughts and asking, but how can you help me? The voice of Tianmeng Ice Silkworm suddenly became solemn. Brother, I want to become your soul ring, the unprecedented soul ring in Douluo world. Goodbye. Huo Yuhao turned his head and left without any hesitation, you can find someone else. I can't help you. Ah. Why did you leave again? Come back quickly. As Tianmeng Ice Silkworm saw Huo Yuhao turn around and leave, her heart suddenly became anxious. She immediately wriggled her huge body and slowly crawled towards Huo Yuhao. Although you are not a spiritual soul master and may not be worthy of my brother, it's okay. With my help, you can definitely become a top powerhouse in the world. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm still doesn't give up and is still trying to persuade Huo Yuhao from afar. Huo Yuhao quickened his pace, and even if he gave up those 2 lottery tickets this time, he couldn't turn back. If he really accepted that bug as a soul ring, he might never be able to reach level 30 or higher in his lifetime. Huo Yuhao pulled out his own panel and looked at his level. The 2 words, "not breaking through," behind him were glaring. Breaking through the conditions, killing a soul beast that has been up for 9,000 years, completed, Shenluo Tianzheng, not obtained, that's right, as long as you accept the soul ring of the heavenly dream Ice Silkworm, although you have become the soul lord, you can't go any further in this life. Don't rush, Yuhao, Chen quickly called out to Huo Yuhao. Without the heavenly dream Ice Silkworm, Huo Yuhao would have lost many good things. Can you ask it first if it can become a soul bone? If it could turn into a soul bone, wouldn't you earn it? Not only does it not occupy your soul ring, but it can also easily obtain a 1,000,000-year soul bone. Upon hearing this, Huo Yuhao paused once again, feeling that it made sense. He turned his head back and stopped in front of Tianmeng Ice Silkworm, asking, "Can you become a soul bone?" Tianmeng Ice Silkworm was taken aback for a moment, and Douluo's big eyes dodged. The unchanged soul ring was actually transformed into a soul bone. Isn't the smart soul ring that she had spent countless time researching in vain? Goodbye. Huo Yuhao hesitated when he saw the heavenly dream Ice Silkworm, so he immediately turned around and left, not giving it a chance to continue speaking. Ah! Come back. Sure, I can transform into a soul bone. Come back quickly. The heavenly dream Ice Silkworm was crying with its big worm face. It was unexpected that a 1,000,000-year-old soul beast, the heavenly dream Ice Silkworm, who had lived the longest on Douluo continent, had been pinched by a human-like child. But there's no other way, I can't wait anymore. If things continue to drag on, I might become fertilizer. It's just a pity that my efforts over the years have taken so long just to develop the wisdom soul ring. Who knew the other person wanted a soul bone, and I had to satisfy him. Just turn yourself into a smart soul ring first, and then place the smart soul ring in one of your bones. It's completely easy. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm is panicking, not right. Brother has no bones. What to do, how to grow a bone in a short period of time, why haven't you grown a bone for 1,000,000 years? How about using my brother's mouthpiece? Tianmeng Ice Silkworm herself rejected this viewpoint. How could a 1,000,000-year-old soul beast produce such an unstoppable soul bone? That. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm blinked her soybean-like eyes and asked, "Can you lend me a bone? I don't have this thing." Huo Yuhao. As long as you can borrow my brother's bone, he can immediately transform into a soul bone. Believe me, I won't lie to you. Huo Yuhao sighed and walked over to the wind baboon. He took out the white tiger dagger again and cut off the wind baboon's head neatly. He then carried the wind baboon's head to Tianmeng Ice Silkworm. Here, change quickly. Huo Yuhao wiped the white tiger dagger clean again. Since both of these soul beasts can be worth 2 lottery tickets, there should be some similarities. It's reasonable to give it this head. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm stared blankly at the head in front of her, which was really ugly with a gap on it. I never thought about it myself, this is my first time trying, but it's okay. I am the longest living soul beast in the world, and God will bless me. With a ruthless heart, a wave of invisible spiritual waves enveloped every corner within 100 miles. Run your own energy and inject it into the skull of the wind baboon. As soon as the energy was in contact, the flesh and blood on the head of the wind baboon dissipated instantly, leaving only a crystal-clear skull. The skull gradually transformed from the original monkey head to a worm head. At this moment, a thunderous roar exploded in the clear sky, and the sun's rays were obscured by darkness. A terrifying pressure fell from the sky. The crystal-clear skull instantly transformed into a stream of light, sinking into Huo Yuhao's forehead and merging with his skull in an instant. Chen also breathed a sigh of relief and stopped interfering with the power of that bone. It was quite difficult for him to hang up for Huo Yuhao. At the same time, a gray airflow seemed to have encountered tremendous suction, falling from the sky and into the back of Huo Yuhao's head. And all of this, Tianmeng Ice Silkworm, who had already entered Huo Yuhao's spiritual sea, was completely unaware. I don't know why, but I suddenly felt a bit sleepy. You can experience the 4 soul skills I gave you by yourself, so I'll go to sleep for a while. By the way, I not only gave you a soul bone, but also added you an ice element martial soul, which you need to attach yourself. Alright, I can't bear it anymore. The voice of the heavenly dream ice silkworm became weaker and weaker, and in the end, it disappeared completely. Including the gray airflow that had just entered, it also instantly quieted down. Huo Yuhao called him Tianmeng Ice Silkworm in his spiritual sea, without any movement, and asked in confusion, "Brother Chen, did you do it?" Of course, after all, it can be a bit troublesome for these guys to wake up, as long as they wake up when they should. Chen said nonchalantly, "You can try their soul skills first, they have an amazing skill." Huo Yuhao nodded and activated the Heavenly Dream Ice Silkworm Skull Soul Technique. Sleeping Slot. As soon as Huo Yuhao activated one of his soul skills, he was instantly shocked and forgot his own cultivation, and burst into foul language. He immersed himself in the clear world before him, swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and trembled as he said, "Is this God's perspective?" "That's right," Chen nodded. "Mind detection is the biggest benefit of this bug, so in the future, you should be good to them." "Of course." Huo Yuhao chuckled and continued to enjoy the enchanting God's perspective, casually observing the ants on the ground. There's no such thing as receiving benefits without returning them, that kind of person will be scolded. "But Chen, have you forgotten about the reward?" Huo Yuhao snapped out of his shock just now and instantly thought of those 2 lottery tickets. Just as I finished speaking, the prompt sound immediately sounded. "Congratulations, you have obtained 2 lucky draw coupons." Huo Yuhao felt a sense of joy in his heart. He was about to open the card drawing interface and pull out the Shenluo Tianzheng he had been thinking about day and night, but suddenly thought of something. "Brother Chen, what are the other skills?" Spiritual detection had already given him enough shock, and he didn't think the remaining 3 soul skills could be compared to them. He decided to directly ask Chen. One of them is a soul shock, causing huge mental damage to the enemy, while the other 2 are mental interference and sharing, which should be understandable. Well, Huo Yuhao thought for a moment, then let's switch to spiritual sharing. This is the last time. Xiao Baodi twisted out the 10,000-year soul technique, blue-silver prison, and successfully exchanged 40 points, are you sure? Chen confirmed once, don't you think carefully? Huo Yuhao nodded and said, no need, let's change it. I don't want to share any spirit with others either. Think about it again, Chen advised, maybe this thing will have some wonderful uses, such as injecting some junk information into the other person's brain and forcing them to become mentally paralyzed. Isn't that strong? Infinite space, what a handsome skill. As long as Huo Yuhao thinks, can he still give it or not? I really don't need it, Huo Yuhao sighed. There's no soul impact that's real, let's change it. Alright, then, Chen was a bit disappointed, but still followed Huo Yuhao's decision. Congratulations, you have obtained a lottery ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Chen's High Imitation Recommendation Letter. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Chen's High Imitation Recommendation Letter. Huo Yuhao skillfully opened the card drawing interface, clicked on the single draw, and watched the dazzling and beautiful golden flashes in the cloud layer of the card drawing interface, with an intoxicating light flashing in his eyes. Cash out. With this soul skill, you can break through the soul lord yourself. Obtain the Millennium Soul Ring and the Soul Skill, Shenluo Tianjing. Level Breakthrough, current level is level 31. New card pool, Eternal Soul Ring, Soul Skill requires assistance to activate. Huo Yuhao felt a bit emotional when he saw that his soul power seemed to have skipped level 30. This time, the card level seemed to have been a bit long. But soon his attention was drawn to the new card pool, and he excitedly asked, Chen Gu, is that Susanoo? Just, that one. 3 months ago, he killed a 9,000-year-old soul beast with a 30-second experience card he drew, completing a breakthrough mission. The soul beast that had been around for nearly 10,000 years couldn't withstand Susanoo's attack until its death, and 30 seconds had not yet been used up. That's right, Du Chen nodded and said with certainty, but as you know, the experience and what you get are still different. After pausing for a moment, Du Chen continued, so if you want to obtain the powerful Susonang, you can't do it without spending money. So you should make money quickly during this period, otherwise even if you draw, you won't be able to afford it. Du Chen's words brought Huo Yuhao back to reality. Indeed, the original Heavenly Hand and Wanxiang Heavenly Attraction were already enough to burn money, but now that the Shenluo Heavenly Expedition is launched, his expenses on soul skills have increased. Ah! Huo Yuhao sighed and looked at the soul skill panel of his own soul skill, Heavenly Hand, level 6, upgrade requires 300 gold soul coins Wanxiang Tianin, level 3, upgrade requires 300 gold soul coins Shenluo Tianjing, level 1. Requires 100 gold soul coins to upgrade. Huo Yuhao turned off his panel, and he couldn't bear to watch anymore. He had been running a stall for 2 years, and every time his business was booming, he envied others. He could earn several gold soul coins every day, but who knows how much money he could keep. Soul skills require money, levels require money, more and more expensive. Inexplicably, I have returned to my time at the Duke's mansion once again, the little brother in front, what happened here just now? Huo Yuhao, still feeling emotional, instantly regained his senses and followed his voice to look at the newcomers. They were a pair of young girls, about 15 or 16 years old, of similar age. The young man had a slender and upright figure, with short dark blue hair emitting a jewel-like luster in the sunlight. The young girl has Danfeng's eyes, which are large and agile, with a straight nose bridge and a nearly perfect melon seed face. Her long black hair is combed into a ponytail and hangs behind her, and her pale blue outfit outlines her full of youthful energy. Huo Yuhao shrugged and said, "It's nothing." When dealing with the prey, a bug suddenly came and took its head away. Bebe frowned, and there was a 10-year-old white soul ring floating above the body of the winged baboon not far away. It was obvious that it had just been hunted, so it was reasonable to say it was a prey. However, what he asked was obviously not that. He then continued, "Didn't you see the anomaly in the sky just now, little brother?" "What's the anomaly in the sky?" Huo Yuhao hesitated for a moment, looked up at the sky, his eyes full of confusion. What was the anomaly in the sky? What's wrong with the card drawing interface being stuck in Douluo continent? It's the anomaly caused by the heavenly dream ice silkworm, idiot. Du Chen is really speechless, he reminded. Although two people can communicate in their hearts, the way they communicate is similar to channel docking, and they can only speak when they find each other. But in a situation like the one just now, even if Huo Yuhao didn't say it, Du Chen already knew that he must not be clear about what the other person's strange expression was that made him so confused he didn't have any impression of the big commotion before. Huo Yuhao finally realized and successfully made up an excuse. He scratched his head and pretended to be embarrassed, saying, "Of course I did. It was because of that sight that a bug had an opportunity to seize the prey." Then he quickly walked up to the body of the winged baboon, collected it, and said to the two, "The scene just now made me feel a bit uneasy. The prey being robbed is a sign. Both of you, hurry up and leave, save yourself from any danger." Before the two of them could reply, Huo Yuhao left, leaving only Bebe and Tanya staring at each other in place. Bebe gave a bitter smile and said helplessly, this little brother seems to be deliberately keeping away from us. Maybe you scared someone. Tanya covered her mouth and chuckled lightly, glanced at Bebe and gently tugged. Don't think about these things, come with me quickly to get the soul ring. Then he walked briskly towards the starry forest. Bebe looked at the figure of the girl ahead and shook her head helplessly, then quickly followed Tanya. Huo Yuhao, who was separated from Bebe, casually found a place to dispose of the body of the winged baboon and then took out an extremely gorgeous letter, asking. Next, just joined Shrek College. Just a few days ago, Chen suddenly released a mission to join Shrek and distributed mission props and a recommendation letter. A highly imitated version of Chen. Apart from the fact that the city lord in the recommendation letter is unaware, there is no difference between this recommendation letter and the genuine one. However, why do tasks with such high risks only have 80 points? A quarter of the winged baboon, when converted, can the magnificent first academy of the continent Shrek only compare to the winged baboon of 2.5 years? High risk. After listening to Huo Yuhao's words, Chen smiled and asked in response, where is the risk high? As long as Shrek's people don't have time to go and confirm with others, no one can know except you and me. And as long as you show your talent, even if they find out this letter is fake, they will replace it with real. They are all afraid that you will use this matter to leave Shrek. Believe me, I didn't lie to you. But that's Shrek. Huo Yuhao still refused. If someone asks on the day of enrollment and finds out that my recommendation letter is fake, wouldn't they kill me? Chen took a deep breath and suppressed his frustration. He was quite clear about what Huo Yuhao meant, just wanting more rewards. Alright, give it. A lottery ticket. Huo Yuhao chuckled and knew that his mourning brother would meet his small demands. His waist suddenly straightened and he said, Chen brother, let's go, target Shrek. Chen sighed and recalled when he first signed a contract with Huo Yuhao. When the little guy asked a question, it was all just a matter of agreement. It's not like now, when doing tasks, one had to resort to various ways and get more rewards. If you didn't want to see Huo Yuhao change the original plot to a completely unrecognizable way, and still want him to be submissive. Reward you for the next small guarantee of crooked blue-silver entanglement. On a journey of thousands of miles, Huo Yuhao also took a carriage for a considerable amount of time. During the day, he took a break while traveling, and at night, he continued to set up a stall as usual to experience the joy of making money. Finally arrived in Shrek City the day before the start of enrollment at Shrek College. Although Huo Yuhao really wanted to go and see this first college on the mainland in advance, he came tonight. The sun is setting, the lights are shining brightly, and it's time to set up a stall to earn money. The air is filled with the smell of money. A minor male vendor can only own one stall. Huo Yuhao never picks a spot. As long as there is nothing particularly strong next to him, he will have many customers coming to visit his booth. If it weren't for my lack of power, sooner or later I would have grown and strengthened my stall. After standing out until midnight, Huo Yuhao finally relaxed and moved his tired arms, feeling a sense of relief. It's the beginning of another beautiful day. Ding! Daily training update, please complete it within today. Daily training, completing 40 points and some experience points, usually for various exercise projects, is also the main way for Huo Yuhao to earn points in the past 2 years. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. The first gold content in mainland China. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. The first gold content in mainland China. With Chen's highly imitated recommendation letter, Huo Yuhao narrowly passed the assessment of Shrek College, completed the registration of new students, and became a proud Shrek. Huo Yuhao walked on the broad road, turned his head to look at the reporting area behind him, and curled his lips, saying, "This is the first college in mainland China. The awareness of prevention is so poor, and only this registration fee and 10 gold soul coins are needed. My heart is really black. No wonder the winged baboon is only worth 2.5 years. Hey, you kid. I'd rather think Shrek's defensive awareness is poor than admit my reliability, right? Du Chen sneered and then proudly said, I've already made you relax. You just need to save money and points, and the rest of Chen's work will be done for you. Chen Gu is mighty. Huo Yuhao lightly patted his palm and gave a small flattery to Du Chen. Of course he trusts Du Chen, he can't believe what he believes anymore. Huo Yuhao walked towards the nearby billboard, which was a bit crowded but not too crowded. With his body twisting and turning, he couldn't force himself to squeeze and come to the billboard. I saw that the notice read, New Student Class 1 Homeroom Teacher, Zhiyou, New Student Class 2 Homeroom Teacher. I remember I seem to be from Class 1. Huo Yuhao pinched his chin, I don't know how this teacher is. Ah, little brother, we're meeting again. The voice was somewhat familiar, and Huo Yuhao turned his head to look. Tanya and Bebe were standing behind him, both looking at the signboard. I didn't expect you to be Shrek's freshman. If you had said that earlier, we would have left together, Tanya said with a smile, without feeling that Huo Yuhao was a stranger he had just met for the second time. But little brother, how many classes are you in? Senior students have been in this college for a few years and are also very familiar with the teachers here. I can give you a little advice. After speaking, Tanya pinched her index finger and thumb slightly, comparing the universe between her fingers. He playfully blinked at Huo Yuhao, causing him to blush. Now our little Hua is still a pure virgin. I really don't have much resistance against pretty girls, except when doing business. Just call me Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao shyly turned his gaze back to the signboard, pretending to read carefully. I'm in Class 1, and the homeroom teacher is a teacher named Zhiyou. How is she? Ah, Zhiyou. Tanya looked at the notice, confirmed it, and exclaimed in a low voice, why is that perverted old lady Zhiyou? Isn't she teaching 3rd grade? How did she assign it to the teaching of new students? Abnormal. Huo Yuhao looked at Tanya in surprise, as if he knew something amazing, and his face lit up instantly. How abnormal is it? Can even perverts become teachers these days? Bebe, who had not spoken yet, saw Huo Yuhao's expression and immediately knew that he had already misunderstood. He smiled bitterly and said, Xiaoyu didn't mean that. Teacher Zhou, who was too strict in the teaching process, had a relatively high dropout rate in her class. There are not many monster students in the outer courtyard of Shrek College, but there are many monster teachers, especially this teacher Zhou. Huo Yuhao suddenly felt a bit disappointed and sighed, that's what I meant. I thought it was really abnormal. Bebe awkwardly smiled and said, it is said that only 1/10 of the 3rd grade students she brought this year have advanced to 4th grade, so she was repeatedly reported to the college by the students, which is why she was demoted to the freshman class. Although teacher Zhou is strict, she is really a good teacher. No student who can be promoted in her class actually says she is not good. Teacher Zhou's strictness is mainly reflected in her high demands on students and strict teaching methods. However, almost a quarter of all students who have been taught and upgraded by teacher Zhou have entered the inner courtyard. This data is one of the best in the whole college. Humph, Huo Yuhao chuckled and commented, isn't it? We've eliminated the underperforming students. If this number is not among the top, it's really unreasonable. Wow, Zhiyou, you can see through very well. Tanya suddenly placed her shoulder on Huo Yuhao's body, gave a thumbs up, and exclaimed in admiration. Regardless of whether we used to be familiar or not, now we are brothers in the same trench. Bebe and Huo Yuhao's faces stiffened at the same time, and Huo Yuhao quickly separated from Tanya to maintain a distance. Well. Senior and senior students, go ahead and get busy. I'll go to the dormitory first. Huo Yuhao glanced at Tanya with lingering fear and quickly left the spot. If he stayed any longer, he would really make a fool of himself. Where's the cute little brother from the elementary school, right? Tanya looked at Huo Yuhao's departing figure and suggested to Bei with a smile. You said I invited him to join the Tang men, would he agree? Enough, Bebe gave Tanya a white glance. I think he might have to hide from you in the future. Wow. Zhiyou Yuhao, you have a thin skin. Du Chen mocked Huo Yuhao in Tanya's tone, and the shy and blushing Huo Yuhao was unexpectedly cute. Don't say it, Huo Yuhao looked embarrassed. How could there be such a person? He just hooked up to others on the second meeting, it's still the opposite sex. What should I do about this? My performance just now was too embarrassing. In embarrassment, Huo Yuhao arrived at the new student dormitory building. As for the idle old man at the entrance of the dormitory, he subconsciously ignored him. The student dormitory is a tube-shaped building, with dormitory doors on both sides of the long corridor, with signs on the doors. It can be seen that the interior of the dormitory building is somewhat outdated, and it is unknown how many years it has been used. There are collective bathrooms at the ends of each side of the corridor. Huo Yuhao arrived at the door of his dormitory and used the key to open the door lock. A somewhat murky air rushed out, and he quickly opened it sideways. After waiting for a while, he took his breath and rushed in to open the window. This room has been unoccupied for at least a month, with a layer of dust everywhere. Taking advantage of the window opening for ventilation, Huo Yuhao also saw the layout inside the dormitory clearly. The dormitory is very small, only about 10 square meters, with 2 beds occupying most of the area. In addition, there is only 1 table and 2 metal wardrobes. There is also a lamp on the roof and several metal protrusions on the wall. The lamp is a simple soul guide that requires soul power injection to light up. Those metal protrusions are the places where soul power is injected. Isn't this the first college in mainland China? Why doesn't it even have an independent bathroom? Huo Yuhao came out of the dormitory and looked at the collective restroom at the end of the hallway. His eyes were full of disgust. Isn't this the amount of restroom in the first college in mainland China? There are only a few collective toilets in a dormitory building with thousands of people. The living conditions for Shrek students are really difficult. It's been some time, and Shrek College wouldn't believe in eating hard to be successful, would it? Suddenly, I began to acknowledge teacher Zhou Yi's dismissal of students. She may have seen through it thoroughly, which is why she is so dedicated to dismissing students. So where exactly are those 10 golden soul coins reflected? Huo Yuhao carefully calculated, 5 golden soul coins with a history of 10,000 years, 5 golden soul coins near the starry forest, good environment, good teaching facilities, and 3 golden soul coins. Subtract 3 pieces from the dormitory. Then the teaching quality. I don't know. Come on, this dormitory is pretty good. Du Chen felt a bit sour when he saw Huo Yuhao's dormitory. It's a double room with a bed and a table, isn't that satisfactory? Thinking back to when I was just a college student, with a concrete floor, going to bed and getting out of bed by comparison, the only advantage is the toilet. In order for you to practice seriously, it deliberately did not build an independent bathroom to prevent you from frequently going to the bathroom and not being able to enter the state, and even carrying the curse of poor dormitory conditions. What else do you want? And 10 golden soul coins, that's enough for you to work in 4 or 5 days. Chenggu, you don't need money. Huo Yuhao felt aggrieved upon hearing this. You have to know that under normal circumstances, a family's monthly living expenses may only be 1 golden soul coin. Although we do earn a lot, most of the money I spend on you. Du Chen was taken aback and touched his chin. Compared to life on Earth, he carefully calculated that a roasted fish has 5 copper soul coins. According to the original world, there are more than 30. 1 copper soul coin is worth 7 yuan, and 1 gold soul coin is worth 700 yuan. This is not enough for a family to live. Is it because Huo Yuhao's fish sells more expensive, or are people in this world generally more frugal? But it turns out that Huo Yuhao has become so wealthy selling fish in recent years. So, am I paying too little for soul skills? Going up in the future. And Chenggu, Huo Yuhao said in a very aggrieved tone, there are indeed few toilets here, and what you said is not a reason. Well, indeed. Chen scratched his face, feeling a bit embarrassed. Of course, he knew that the toilet wasn't that big of a deal, so he casually said, jokingly, he didn't even believe it. I'll compensate you with 80 points, Chen sighed. We can't let the child suffer in vain, make good compensation. Thank you, Brother Chen. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Wang Dong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Wang Dong. Huo Yuhao tidied up the dormitory a bit, then carefully cleaned the beds he liked, and put on his duck-down mattress, silk sheets, plush blanket, goose-down quilt and his favorite buckwheat skin pillow. These things were all requested by myself and Chen Gu. As long as the things he wants are reasonable, such as daily necessities, Chen Gu will put these things into his lucky card rewards, including his clothes, shoes, and some stall utensils. And these things are not calculated separately, not wasting one's points at all. Huo Yuhao stretched lazily, took off his clothes, got into his bed, closed his eyes, and fell asleep in an instant. Practice. What's the use of cultivation? If I had seized the opportunity to cultivate myself in the past, I would have risen to less than level 10 in 4 years. After encountering Brother Chen, I had tasks to do, but without tasks, I had to eat, drink, and practice symbolically. I concealed myself and set up a stall at night. In less than 2 years, I rose to more than 20 levels. If effort is useful, why do you want to cheat yourself? He slept until noon, and by the time he woke up, his roommate had already arrived. The young man has a beautiful appearance, fair skin, and a pair of big eyes that are very special, surprisingly a faint pink-blue color. Her neat short hair is also of the same color, and her handsome appearance is much more handsome than herself. At this moment, the young man sat on the bed next to him, crossing his legs and scrutinizing himself with a pair of pink-blue eyes. Huo Yuhao sat up, yawned, looked at the other person drowsily, and politely greeted him with a hand. Hi, hello, my name is Huo Yuhao. Wang Dong saw the unobstructed upper body of Huo Yuhao, and his gaze instantly shifted to another place. He reached out and patted off the hand that Huo Yuhao had reached out to. Your name is not important, but I have a few rules that you must remember. Firstly, you are not allowed to bring people back to the dormitory casually. Secondly, you are not allowed to be annoying naked in the dormitory. Thirdly, you are not allowed to snore when sleeping at night. Fourthly, you are not allowed to disturb me. Fifthly, you are responsible for cleaning the dormitory in the future, but do not touch my bed. Do you understand? Huo Yuhao was taken aback and looked at his hand that had been slapped off, feeling a bit confused. So arrogant. Humph, Huo Yuhao smiled and withdrew his slapped hand, pinching his chin. He asked, do you mean to be naked or naked? Forget it, it's not important. What's important is that you clean the dormitory in the future. In addition, you also need to tidy up my bed, the sheets should be as smooth as a mirror, the blanket should be folded into tofu-shaped pieces and placed on one side of the bed, the blanket should be folded and placed under the pillow, next to the blanket. These are the most basic requirements. I will add more in the future, okay? Faced with Wang Dong's arrogance, Huo Yuhao has no intention of getting used to it at all. He just wants me to be responsible for hygiene and doesn't want to make any requests. It's ridiculous. Wang Dong snorted coldly, laughed back in anger, glared at Huo Yuhao, and pointed his thumb outside the door. Put on your clothes and come with me, he said. Your name is Huo Yuhao, right? From now on, your name will disappear from Shrek College. Huo Yuhao sneered and slowly put on his clothes. He moved his body a little and followed Wang Dong out of the door. Isn't it just that you want to fight? Just accompany me. A sweet-looking young man, who doesn't want to bully you when they see him. And Huo Yuhao, I love teaching those noble young masters the most. Shrek College covers an extremely large area, with large open spaces separating buildings. By the time Huo Yuhao arrived on the open space, Wang Dong had already stood there. At the entrance of the dormitory, the old man leaning in the lounge chair lifted his head slightly, and a curious light flashed in his dim yellow eyes. Looking at Huo Yuhao and Wang Dong with great interest. Using soul skills? Huo Yuhao asked with a smile. Although the guy in front of me has a very arrogant personality, his strength is not very good. If using soul skills, one needs to have displacement, control, damage, and self-targeting. What does he use to fight against oneself? If you don't use soul skills, you really have so many perfect tonifying pills to eat for free, and every minute you work for him until he can't walk. Feel free, Wang Dong said contemptuously. I allow you to use your martial soul, but I don't think you have the power to make me use my martial soul. As he spoke, Wang Dong's left foot was slightly on the ground, and his body rushed towards Huo Yuhao like an arrow. Not only was he fast, but he also looked exceptionally agile. In the blink of an eye, he came to Huo Yuhao, lifted his right foot, and stepped directly towards his chest. His legs are quite long. When he lifted his legs, Huo Yuhao was surprised to find that Wang Dong had a pair of long legs that exceeded the proportion of ordinary people. But it's just too slow. Wang Dong's rapid movements felt like slowing down several times in Huo Yuhao's eyes. Not only could he easily avoid them, but there were also many loopholes. Huo Yuhao raised his left hand and grabbed Wang Dong's ankle with one hand. He pulled back and quickly moved forward, with his right fist mercilessly hitting Wang Dong's handsome face. Wang Dong's eyes widened as his fist widened in his own eyes, but he felt powerless. His ankle was grabbed by the opponent and he couldn't break free at all. This punch, I can only resist it hard. Two arms folded together, blocking the inevitable path of the fist. Dong! A dull sound. Huo Yuhao let go of his hand, and Wang Dong fell backward straight, falling to the ground and fainting. If the number of battles ends within 3 seconds and reaches 20, a reward of 20 points will be given. The lazy voice of Chen came to his ears, making Huo Yuhao feel relieved. 20 points have been credited again. Huo Yuhao's gaze towards Wang Dong became more friendly. He bent down to carry Wang Dong and turned his head towards his small dormitory. After returning to the dormitory, Huo Yuhao threw Wang Dong onto his own bed and slightly touched his shoulder. He had just touched the area where Wang Dong's body was, and after reminiscing about his previous touch, he muttered, I didn't expect him to be so soft as a man, without any muscles. No wonder he's so weak. You. A faint voice came from the bed, attracting Huo Yuhao's attention. Wang Dong had already opened his eyes and stared at Huo Yuhao, seeming quite dissatisfied. Moreover, his left face was starting to swell, and his arms were still in pain. The punch was not light. Huo Yuhao turned around and sat on his bed, sneering, I woke up quite quickly. You. Wang Dong's face immediately turned red, whether it was shyness or anger from Huo Yuhao. Of course, it could also be a combination of both. From childhood to adulthood, I have never experienced such injustice, at least in my own memory. But today, I was mercilessly beaten by a boy of the same age, humiliated, so humiliating. Here, ointment, apply it to the area where you feel pain, the effect is very good. Huo Yuhao grabbed the ring on his right middle finger, took out a simple box of ointment, and threw it over. This box of ointment is worth a purple light, on the same level as the 10 complete tonifying pills, and the effect is very good. Wang Dong was about to throw the ointment back, but after some thought, he still opened the lid, dipped his fingertip slightly, and applied a little to the painful area on his face. He also applied a little to his arm. This ointment is useless. Huo Yuhao took back his ointment, propped his hand on his head, and looked at Wang Dong with a smile. Remember, in the future, you will clean the dormitory, including my bed. You should remember to ask for it. If you don't remember, I can say it again. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Are you sure your fish is cooked? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Are you sure your fish is cooked? Night has arrived, and it's time for Huo Yuhao to set up a stall again. Originally, Huo Yuhao wanted to invite Wang Dong along. After all, with such a handsome appearance, it would definitely attract many young girls to come and consume. However, the other party seemed to have not calmed down yet, lying in bed without saying anything. Huo Yuhao muttered a regret to himself, and before leaving, he specifically reminded him, "I'll go out and remember to help me tidy up the bed." On the way, Huo Yuhao was constantly calculating his remaining ingredients, as if there were not many left and he didn't know how many more days he could use them. Normally, except for some ingredients obtained during the lottery, all the remaining ingredients are personally grabbed by oneself, but at Shrek College, it's a bit difficult. Chen, do you think there are fish in Haishan Lake? Huo Yuhao stopped and looked at the clean and clear sea god lake not far away. He couldn't help but have a bold idea in his heart. If he could buy and sell fish from Sea God Lake, and then package and promote it based on this, he could increase the selling price significantly without changing the cost. I am truly a genius. Du Chen smiled and said, "Xiao Xiang, do you still want to catch fish in the Sea God Lake? Do you think the great sea god would agree? Come on, let's wait until you grow up in the future. When you raise crabs in Haishan Lake, they will praise you for your interest. It's more practical for you to talk to several stores about cooperation now. Don't think about those outrageous operations. You can't handle them now." Yes, Huo Yuhao sighed and withdrew his reluctant gaze. If not now, let's wait for the future. The Green Mountains remain unchanged, the lake water flows long, and the Sea God Lake will not disappear. Take your time, don't worry. Can you get over 100 Blu-rays at once? Huo Yuhao suggested. Get lost. Huo Yuhao has been out of the college all along, and there are no more registered students now, but the level of excitement remains the same. On both sides of the main road outside the East Gate, there are many vendors gathered, even more than the area he found last night. There are all kinds of vendors selling everything, with a dazzling array of them, among which there are the most vendors selling various types of food, and the sound of shouting is endless. Obviously, they all gathered here to do business with Shrek College students. Sure enough, is it still better for students to earn money? Huo Yuhao sighed and finally found a vacant land in a relatively remote place, feeling a bit regretful. It seems like we have to come earlier tomorrow. This place can't accommodate too many things. Let's just sell fish today. With a swipe of his finger on the ring, a small cart appeared on the open ground. Although it was not large in size, the tools on it were still very complete, including a metal oven, an iron frame, a few pieces of charcoal, and various seasonings, as well as killed and washed green fish. Okay, start making money. The light chariot cooked a fire, and after a while, there were already several pieces of red charcoal burning in the oven. The size of the oven is not small, it can hold 5 or 6 fish at the same time, and he just started baking. In no time, the strong aroma had already drifted out. Today, as usual, customers will follow the aroma to his stall, leave money, and take the food. "Little brother, how do you sell this grilled fish?" A male student wearing a yellow school uniform walked over and asked. Huo Yuhao lifted his head and said with a smile, 7 copper coins per roasted fish. I was originally selling 5 copper coins, but unfortunately, from now on, these ingredients will have to be spent by myself. I need to control the profit to some extent, only more, not less. It has been difficult for me to do well in these years. The student was also cheerful and said, "It smells good. Let's have a try." As he spoke, he handed Huo Yuhao a silver soul coin, took the change he had found, and bit into the steaming grilled fish. As usual, with the first person to ask, others naturally gathered around. However, Huo Yuhao's appearance here for the first time smells good, and no one knows how it tastes. Almost all of these people gathered around were Shrek College students who had just finished school. Looking at the curious eyes of those students, Huo Yuhao knew he had come to the right place. When Huo Yuhao handed a roasted green fish to the yellow-clothed student, the other people's eyes couldn't help but fall on the student. But the fish grilled by Huo Yuhao has been verified by countless returning customers. Maybe there will be customers waiting at the place where the stall was set up yesterday. Just taking one bite, the yellow-clothed student's eyes became straight, ignoring praise. After 2 or 3 bites, a fish was eaten. In this way, the people around immediately understood what the situation with the grilled fish was, and everyone came up one after another, surrounding the small stall tightly. The grilled fish were baked one after another, and Huo Yuhao was even more delighted. Today's ingredients were consumed much faster than before, and perhaps inventory could be cleared today. Take advantage of tomorrow's availability to solve the problem of supply. He is truly a student of Shrek College, and he is lucky. Shrek City is so bustling for a reason. I sold more than 10 pieces, but no one came up with copper soul coins to sell fish. It seems that we need to keep change regularly in the future, otherwise we won't be able to find change, which is not good for our reputation. At this moment, several female students wearing purple school uniforms walked out from the entrance of Shrek College. The female students walking at the front immediately attracted countless gazes upon their appearance. She looked only 14 or 5 years old, with a slender and symmetrical figure. Her long golden hair was flowing in large waves at the back of her head, her skin was snowy, and her eyes were like a clear stream of water. When she looked around, she had a refined and elegant temperament. The stunning girl clearly also smelled the fragrance, and the women followed the scent and turned their gaze to the stall on Huo Yuhao's side. Perhaps it was because the young girl's appearance was too alluring that the students who were originally gathered in front of Huo Yuhao's booth made way for a passage on their own, and she and several other female students walked straight to the oven. "Junior, how do you sell this grilled fish?" the stunning girl asked softly. Huo Yuhao kept moving his hands, one grilled fish coming out of the oven, and then another grilled fish was added. He heard what he had heard many times before, but without looking up, he pointed to the wooden board with the price marked and replied, 7 copper coins per piece. The stunning girl frowned slightly and said, "It's a bit expensive. Considering the cost and your processing, a maximum of 3 copper soul coins is enough. You still have to make a profit." Huo Yuhao was taken aback for a moment and suddenly felt novel. He was the first student to negotiate with him, and he directly cut off half of the original price. If he sold this, how would he increase the price in the future? Make sure to reason with the other party well. No way. When he saw his face clearly, his eyes suddenly lit up, dispelling his original thoughts and changing his mind. "No problem, I'll treat you to eat for free. As long as you help me sell fish here. How about it, is it cost-effective?" Huo Yuhao's eyes sparkled. This beautiful girl, who looks no less than Wang Dong, cannot be deceived. Isn't it better to deceive some wealthy young men? They are more willing to spend money than those girls. But his stall is not a luxury venue either. The girl was wary and was a bit flustered by Huo Yuhao's shining gaze. She took a step back and quickly waved her hand to refuse. No, I just calculated casually. "Don't mind, then. I won't buy it now. I'll come back when I have the chance. Goodbye." Without hesitation, he turned around and left, pulling his companions around without any pause. In that state, it felt like he was running away. Huo Yuhao kept working hard and looked at the girls back in confusion. Why didn't we offer such a discounted price? If it sells well, I can still give money. Why didn't we even consider it? You're really running so fast, are you afraid I'll take advantage of her? But she even wants to bargain for a fish, what can I do to her? Hey, kid, are you sure the fish is cooked? While Huo Yuhao was still pondering, a deep voice sounded, indicating that the other person seemed a bit angry. What's troublemaker? Huo Huo Yuhao furrowed his brow and looked at the visitor. He was dressed in a black school uniform and was actually a 6th grade student. He looked about the same age as Bebe, with a tall figure, thick eyebrows, tiger eyes, a straight nose, and a square mouth, and a dignified appearance. Just as Huo Yuhao was about to ask, a golden soul coin immediately blocked his mouth. Of course. This guest, do you want one? Huo Yuhao quietly put away the golden soul coin and showed a bright smile. Gold soul coin, with just one move, it's a huge amount. This person is worth making friends with. As for this person's previous nitpicking remarks. With so much money, it's normal for them to ask for feedback, which is acceptable. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Su Ti's jurisdiction over Shidong, Zhiyou town. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Su Ti's jurisdiction over Shidong, Zhiyou town, of course. The young man in black glanced at the grilled fish on the oven and continued, but I don't want these fish. I want something with a richer flavor. Can you do it? Even if the guest makes a request, I promise to meet it. Huo Yuhao said confidently. It's just a fish, no matter how difficult it is, it can't be as difficult. I have a versatile morning brother who will solve my problems for me. The young man in black had a successful expression on his plan and said, okay, listen, I want a whole fish without scaling or removing any organs. At first, Huo Yuhao carefully memorized the requirements, but immediately became puzzled. He didn't scratch or remove his internal organs. He wanted to swallow them raw. However, I still took out a new fish as required, and he paid for it all. It's still a golden soul coin, so let's follow his request. You need to grill the fish skin through the scales, making it crispy and crispy. You need to grill the back of the fish until it's medium cooked, but you can't see any burnt marks inside. I want the internal organs of the fish to be medium cooked, but I only want the belly to be medium cooked, so don't make any mistakes. Also, in the end, the head of the fish must be raw and cannot be exposed to any heat. Do you understand? Huo Yuhao frowned and suddenly realized that the person in front of him was here to find fault. And isn't it enough to say that the fish belly is good? It must be called a fish belly with a bit of westernization. Does this make him look very cultured? Taking a deep breath, he suppressed his anger and asked, this customer, the back of the fish is medium cooked, and the taste may be better, the belly and internal organs of the fish may feel prickly, but the head of the fish. Do you have any hobbies? Huo Yuhao also emphasized the pronunciation of each possibility to express doubt. Do you mind if Su Sancher has any hobbies, do it or not? Su Sancher chuckled smugly and looked at Huo Yuhao's already flushed face, feeling much better. Damn little devil, you dare to take advantage of my family's Jiangnan Nan. It's a good thing not to beat you up. No, I must beat you up today. Huo Yuhao threw the fish he had just taken out onto the oven and impatiently said, roast, why not bake? The customer paid, so naturally I have to meet the requirements, but I still hope that the customer must finish it and not waste the ingredients. Su Sancher snorted coldly, hugged his chest with both hands, and said disdainfully, don't worry, as long as you bake it well, I will taste the final one. These bizarre requirements are not too difficult. I have mental detection and the unformed second martial soul with ice attributes. The only problem that needs to be solved is how to determine how familiar it is. Huo Yuhao was uncertain in his heart. It was the first time he had heard such a strange request, and he had not studied it specifically. Therefore, he decided to ask Du Chen, Brother Chen, how familiar was what he said. I'm not sure. Du Chen flipped through the life-related materials in the system space. All of them were grilled pork chops that were a bit cooked, but he hadn't seen a grilled green fish that was a bit cooked yet. He's just here to find trouble and be ready to fight at any time, Du Chen reminded, and I think he's probably not clear either. You just have to do it one by one, and when the fight comes, it's all up to him. Huo Yuhao nodded silently, his spiritual detection enveloping both Qingyu and Su Sancher. He controlled his soul power to flow down the bamboo skewers into the body of the roasted fish, distributed throughout various parts. As time passed by, more and more people gathered around them. They were all attracted by what had just happened here. After all, the 6th grade senior bullied a new elementary school brother, and this incident is so controversial. Roasted. Huo Yuhao saw that the situation was almost over, so he quickly collected his soul power and handed the grilled fish to Su Sancher. However, the appearance of the grilled fish was not very good. The whole fish head and cracked scales, although able to smell the burnt aroma of the fish skin, are indeed hard to swallow in appearance, but they truly meet the buyer's requirements. Now all eyes are focused on Su Sancher, looking forward to what will happen next. Su Sancher's mouth twitched and hesitated as he took the grilled fish over. At this point, he had already regretted it. In his imagination, the other party should have been angry from the beginning, so that he could easily find a reason to teach this guy a lesson. Or they may not meet their own requirements at all, grilling in a mess, making it clear at a glance that they do not meet their requirements. Otherwise, I will only take one bite and firmly insist that the grilled fish cooked by the other party does not meet the requirements. But he didn't expect that the fish cooked according to his own request, without saying anything, would be so nauseating, making it difficult to even have the courage to take a bite. But now, let go of all the words, and even if you insist on eating. Su Sancher took a deep breath and isolated the fishy smell emanating from the fish head. He was about to bite it down, but the scales stopped. As soon as the scales touched his lips, the feeling was so chilling that it made him shudder. But if I don't eat, I can't go to the stage by myself, and there's no reason to take action. Su Sancher glanced at the people around him, and his face suddenly stiffened. There were indeed many people around him, and most importantly, there were acquaintances in the crowd. Bebe and Tangya arrived at Huo Yuhao's stall at some point and looked at Su Sancher together. It seems we have to eat now. Once again, he stopped breathing, closed his eyes, opened his mouth, and was about to bite it down. On the other side, Huo Yuhao spoke, his heart softened. No, he couldn't be said to have softened, he just thought it was better to just let this matter go. Don't make things too big, he will have to stand out in the future. After this incident, he may become famous, but the impact on his business is somewhat unpredictable. Why don't you stop eating? You don't need to pay to suffer. That person just now was your girlfriend, right? I don't have any thoughts about her, I just want to increase my own revenue. Don't misunderstand. You say it again. Su Sancher's eyes widened instantly, his face turned red, and the corners of his mouth kept rising. He laughed foolishly there, not even knowing that the fish in his hand had fallen to the ground. Hee, girlfriend, hee. Girlfriend. The sudden change frightened Huo Yuhao and he quickly patted Su Sancher's shoulder, shouting, "Hey, are you okay? This guy, is this a crazy rhythm? Are you going crazy at your own stall? Are you still doing business?" Of course it's okay. Su Sancher regained his senses, wiped the saliva from the corner of his mouth, picked up the fish on the ground again, put it to his mouth to blow off the dirt on it, and carefully wiped the mud on the fish's head. Pointing at Huo Yuhao, he said very firmly, "From now on, you will be my close friend of Su Sancher." Then he looked at the fish in his hand and said with great enthusiasm, "How could I waste the gift my dear friend gave me? Don't worry, I will eat everything I have left." Taking a bite, he directly bit half of the fish's body into his mouth, then chewed and swallowed it along with the fish head, scales, bones, and internal organs, causing Huo Yuhao's eyelids to twitch. Is this so fierce? In a moment of confusion, Su Sancher had already eaten his other half, panting heavily and sweating profusely, as if enduring something. Ugh! Sure enough. Huo Yuhao was quick-witted and put his cart back into his ring to prevent being affected by Su Sancher's vomit. A strong fishy smell spread around, it was the fish head. He ate raw fish head. Perhaps the undercooked fish organs also played a significant role. The people around seemed to have all disappeared in an instant, leaving only Bebe and Tanya behind. The nearby vendors looked at Su Sancher and Huo Yuhao with a faint gaze. I didn't expect you, Zhiyou Yuhao, to be quite impressive. How could you mess up this guy so badly? Tanya walked up to Huo Yuhao and looked at him with great interest. How did you speak? This is my close friend. He won't harm me. Su Sancher propped his knee on his hand and said with a pale face. It seemed that the fish had caused him considerable damage just now, making it difficult for him to recover for a while. Stop talking, take a sip of water. Huo Yuhao took out a bottle of water and handed it over. Su Sancher took the water and showed a pale and bright smile, giving a thumbs up and saying, "This is my dear friend." Huo Yuhao covered his forehead and asked helplessly, "Are you okay? Why don't I send you back?" No need, I can. After speaking, Su Sancher rinsed his mouth, swallowed it, suppressed a bit of nausea, stood up straight, took a few steps forward, and then bent down to vomit. At this moment, Bebe walked over and helped Su Sancher. He smiled at Huo Yuhao and said, "Let me take this guy back. You can continue to set up a stall here and I won't disturb you." After speaking, he walked towards the direction of the dormitory. Huo Yuhao glanced at what Su Sancher had left behind inside. He couldn't continue setting up the stall himself, could he? Let's close the stall earlier today. Someone will come and tidy up these things, right? End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Haoge, I have taken it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Haoge, I have taken it. Huo Yuhao gently opened the dormitory door. He didn't see the dormitory lights on downstairs just now. Wang Dong may have already gone to bed, so he can only eat the grilled fish he specially left for himself. Pop. The dormitory lights suddenly turned on, startling Huo Yuhao. You haven't slept yet. Huo Yuhao looked at Wang Dong, who suddenly sat up from the blanket, feeling a bit puzzled. If you haven't slept yet, why do you turn off the lights? We don't pay for the electricity bills separately. What money will we save for the college? Here, the fish I left for you. There was something wrong with the stall, but it didn't sell out. It's a bargain for you. Huo Yuhao closed the door and handed the fish in his hand to Wang Dong, only to find that his bed had been neatly arranged. The quilt and other items were neatly stacked according to my own requirements. Well tidied up. Huo Yuhao exclaimed in admiration, then walked over to his bed and with a loud bang, lifted the folded blanket and casually threw it onto the bed. Ignoring Wang Dong's expression of wanting to kill him, he picked up his own basin and walked out. After setting up the stall, it is inevitable that there will be some odor on the body. At this point, the function of independently washing the bathroom becomes apparent, but Shrek does not have such humanized conditions. So cheap, you deserve to have problems setting up your stall, you deserve to not be able to sell all your things. Wang Dong watched as Huo Yuhao walked out the door, snorted coldly, and took a bite of the grilled fish in his hand as if it were Huo Yuhao. Wang Dong took a sip and looked at the grilled fish in his hand in surprise, exclaiming, "The taste is pretty good. Speaking of which, this fish hasn't been poisoned, let's take another bite and try the poison." After cleaning his body in the bathroom, Huo Yuhao stood outside the dormitory with his upper body bare, blowing the cool breeze and watching the night view of Shrek. The scenery here is really beautiful. Only then do I feel that the number one on this continent is truly deserving. Huo Yuhao and Du Chen are communicating in their hearts. After hearing this, Du Chen roast, "You have never been to another college. How do you know that the scenery here must be the most beautiful? And don't think Shrek's biggest advantage is not education. Otherwise, with those strange rules and some pretentious styles, why should it become the first college in mainland China?" Huo Yuhao was somewhat surprised by Du Chen's answer. "I didn't expect that Chen Gu didn't really admire Shrek, did you?" Then why did you insist on letting me come to this college? You even tempted me with dozens of points. Chen smiled and said calmly and confidently, of course, to prove that your original choice was not wrong, even among these geniuses, I can make you the most talented one. I already knew, there's no need to prove it anymore. Can I drop out and go to another college now? Huo Yuhao waved his hand and said with a smile. Every time I ask him for his intention, the other person always likes to use this method to evade it. This left Huo Yuhao speechless. Can we still be honest with each other? He also wanted to know Chen Ji's true thoughts, but he just didn't say anything. But Chen has no choice. Otherwise, how can I say that you attended Shrek College in your previous life, and I want to witness your difference with my own eyes? This is not suitable. And the reason I gave Huo Yuhao cannot be miscalculated, can it? I also have ideas in this area. Suddenly, a voice interrupted their conversation, and Huo Yuhao disconnected from Chen. Hey, how long will you stay outside? If you don't come in, I'll lock the door. Wang Dong suddenly opened the door and leaned against the wall. But when he saw Huo Yuhao naked, his heart panicked and he quickly lowered his head to not look at him. Since just now, he has been waiting in bed, wanting to chat with his new roommate, but to his surprise, he couldn't wait and opened the door himself. Huo Yuhao turned his head to look at Wang Dong and said, I'll go in a little while, you don't have to wait for me. Who wants to wait for you? Wang Dong snorted coldly and continued, I sleep lightly. I'm afraid you might wake me up when you come in, that's why I'm urging you in. Don't think so much. Okay, go in. Huo Yuhao turned around and took Wang Dong a few steps to enter the dormitory, and also closed the door by the way. The aroma of grilled fish still lingers in the dormitory, and the remaining garbage is casually thrown onto the ground. Huo Yuhao thought of the requirements that Wang Dong had put forward to him before, and immediately rolled his eyes. He turned his head and said angrily, you come and clean the dormitory in the future, pay more attention to it. Shoo. Wang Dong picked up the garbage in displeasure, didn't even take off his clothes, and flipped over to bed. He didn't want to talk about the topic he originally wanted to talk about anymore. Really, it's not good to say something, even if it's just a chat. He can pick out things he remembers and say them, but he insists on killing the topic. That's it, the good feelings are gone. There was nothing to say overnight. Throughout the night, Wang Dong was reminiscing about the battle with Huo Yuhao. He couldn't understand why he was so strong that he was knocked down by a peer without using his martial soul. Did he use soul skills without his knowledge? Flipped over and carefully scrutinized Huo Yuhao, his eyes full of discontent. Today, just for today, when he wakes up, I must challenge him again, clear the shame before. What are you looking at? Wang Dong regained his senses and saw Huo Yuhao staring straight at him. He was startled and immediately closed his eyes, pretending to be still asleep. Stop pretending, idiot, I saw you open your eyes. Huo Yuhao lifted the blanket and put on his clothes, saying, get up as soon as you wake up. Don't rely on the bed, no wonder you're so lazy. What are you saying? Huo Yuhao's words happened to hit Wang Dong's painful spot. He lifted the blanket and counterattacked Huo Yuhao, who was putting on his coat, saying, it's been so long since I woke up and I haven't changed my clothes yet. Your movements are so slow. How can your strength improve? Probably not much taller than you. Huo Yuhao raised an eyebrow and smiled, put on his clothes, pointed out the door, and provocatively said, do you want to do it again? Let's go. Who's afraid of who? Wang Dong pulled Huo Yuhao towards the door, thinking fiercely in his heart. Now, just now, I must let this guy see my true strength. Dong. Wang Dong fell to the ground in a disheveled state, his arms twisted back by Huo Yuhao and unable to move. Huo Yuhao rode on Wang Dong's body and proudly said, have you taken the sample? Take your head off, let go of me. Wang Dong struggled fiercely, his two long legs constantly flapping, attempting to interfere with Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao increased his strength a bit, shook his body, and carefully felt the soft touch coming from his buttocks. Don't do this, just take it soft and say, how, I'll take it. I'll let you go immediately, okay? Get lost. I won't say anything even if I die. Wang Dong was still very tough. Huo Yuhao asked with a smile, don't you say it. Then the strength in the hands increased a few more points. Pain and pain. I took it, you quickly let go. Wang Dong couldn't bear it and quickly softened. Huo Yuhao shook his head and said, no, 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 it's Haoge, I've taken it. That's how I let you go. You. Wang Donggang was about to say a few tough words, but he felt the power from his arm increase again. He spoke decisively, Brother Hao, take it, I take it, let go. Isn't this already enough? Huo Yuhao nodded in satisfaction and let go of Wang Dong with a smile on his face. A beautiful day, starting from educating roommates. Wang Dong stood up and moved his arm with an ugly expression. He snorted coldly and said, this time doesn't count. I didn't sleep well last night. When I adjust my condition, let's do it again. Then, I will definitely make you call Donggu. Huo Yuhao spread his hand and said nonchalantly, no problem, as long as you can win, shout whatever you say. I'm going to exercise now, will you follow me? Wang Dong was still rubbing his arms, turning around and walking towards the dormitory, refusing, if you don't go, there's no one who goes to exercise in the morning. Whoever likes to go will go. After returning to the dormitory, Wang Dongxin changed his clothes and lay back in bed. Looking at Huo Yuhao's empty bed, he thought to himself. Shouldn't this guy wake up so early every day to exercise all day? If that's the case, then it doesn't seem particularly strange for me to lose to him. He has been working so hard, and if I ever win over him again, he would be too pitiful. Have a good night's sleep today, and start practicing diligently tomorrow. With my excellent talent, it will only be a few days before I catch up with him. It must be like this, sleeping. On the other hand, Huo Yuhao completed his daily tasks and earned 40 points that he couldn't miss every day. After that, he ran outside the academy, selected several stores, negotiated prices with the boss, signed a contract, and began a long-term cooperation. In this way, each fish still earns the same amount of money. Sure enough, yesterday's price increase was right, otherwise I would have lost too much. Returning to the dormitory, Huo Yuhao saw Wang Dong sleeping soundly under his own blanket. He tiptoed back to his own bed, took off his clothes, covered the blanket, and went to sleep. End of this chapter.